Hey, everybody. Welcome to Recovery Connection, episode number 9. Isn't it 10 or is it 9, John?
It's 9.
It's 9? No, it's 10. It is 10, yeah. Welcome. Today, we have a very special guest, someone that I've known for a long time, Josh B. I think I've known you since I came into recovery, or maybe a couple of years afterwards.
I think 2013,
2013, 14?
somewhere around there.
Okay. Let me start with the pre-show announcements, and then we'll...
Oh, so you're not... Okay.
Yeah. Welcome to the Recovery Connection, everybody. This is a podcast focused on plugging in Ottawa's recovery community. Our mission is to connect and educate organizations, people in recovery, and listeners, that's you, to the vast resources that have gone under the radar in this beautiful community of ours. We want to start breaking the stigma and foster a sense of belonging for all people in recovery. So join us live like you are now on Facebook and YouTube at 8 p.m. on the second and fourth Thursday of each month, where I, Kevin Williams, if you don't already know who I am, will be chatting with friends in recovery and community organizations on topics that are important to us and important to you, because we want to make this inclusive for all of us. And so if you're joining us live, if you're watching me right now, you're joining us live, send in your questions and answers or questions for Josh and I at the end of this conversation. We'd be happy to take a stab at answering them. Eh? Yeah. The Recovery Connection is available on all major streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple, and all Google Podcasts 1 week after the live episode. That gives John time to edit out all my hums and haws and coughs and sneezes. And follow, like, and share our social media accounts to stay up to date on upcoming conversations, guests that we have coming up, and any relevant news that we want to keep you informed about. And visit our website at jerichoroad.ca to learn more and keep up to date what's going on at Jericho Road, because there's always a lot going on. What's going on right now? Coldest night of the year, right?
Coming up soon.
Coming up soon. So today I have Josh B. with me. How are you, Josh?
I'm doing well. How are you, Kevin?
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thanks for coming. We normally have a little bit of a planned topic that we want to talk about, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you the all pertinent question, because I like to ask all my guests, what brought you into recovery?
What brought me into recovery? I would say it was a sense of desperation to keep my family together.
Wow.
It was... Yeah, there came a point that, you know, I had received all sorts of hims and haws and threats from my wife in the past, and then, you know, there came a point in 2018 that it was like, you know, enough is enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the kind version of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm either getting right or I'm out of the house.
Yeah.
And at that point, you know, I think my daughter was 6 months old. My son was 2 years old. And yeah, at first, you know, there was this moment of like, oh, now I got to do what I want.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's like, I'm not going to be controlled by you or anyone anymore.
Yeah.
But then there was, by the grace of God, there was a moment of clarity that it's like, you don't want to make that same mistake that you've seen other people make.
Well, and that's what I really like about your story, because it's not like you didn't know. I mean, you were surrounded by people who were in recovery.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it wasn't that you didn't know what recovery was, or the problems that people face, or why people got into recovery. I like how you say the desperation. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like you were you know, blind by, you know, what was going on in your life and in your family life that you know, made you say, okay, this is what I got to do, but I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
You knew what to do.
Yeah. Like, and I'd say like I've been surrounded by people in recovery for years before that.
Yeah.
But there was something inside of me. It was a blessing to have those people around me, because those people were the ones, when this moment happened, that they were there to like speak truth into my life and call me out on things. And like, this is what we're seeing. But for me, it was still like, well, I'm not like you guys. Yeah. I'm not like, it's like, yeah, okay, you've taken it to that level, but it's like, I haven't gone to that level. So in my mind, I kept analyzing this
and playing that tape.
Yeah. And it's like, yet it's like, I still felt all this guilt for how I'm operating. And I'm like, and I had this double side to me that it's like, there was one side that, you know, my wife, you know, is heavily involved in church. So I'm going alongside her. Do you know how many times we fought on a Sunday just to go? Like, but it's like, but I thought if I could uphold an appearance there, and yet I'm living this other life that it's like, everything is a secret. Yeah. Everything was a secret.
I love that appearance, right? Because I remember having this conversation with a friend, and he used to be a greeter at a church.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, people don't realize, but I see them drive their vehicle into the church parking lot, and they're yelling and screaming at one another. They get out of the van, and they meet in the front of the van. They hold hands, they put on a smile, and they walk into church.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was our story.
Yeah.
That was our story right there.
So I guess you're not special.
I thought I'm not special. And it's like the whole time, it's just interesting. It's like my whole life, it's like I just wanted to fit in and I just wanted to belong.
Yeah.
And yet it's like, yeah, here I am standing out again. You know, I'm not as special as I think I was.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, grateful to enter into recovery at the end of 2018. And yeah, life has taken drastic turns since then.
Was there a turning point for you when you made that decision, or was it just a culmination of stuff that brought you to that point?
Sorry, you're saying
to say, you know, I got to do something about this.
I think there was something about that moment right there, because it's like I had tried to stop.
Yeah.
Many times before.
Yeah.
And I was proving to myself that I couldn't.
Yeah.
And then when that moment happened, it's like, okay, let's do something about it. But in my mind, that thing in the back of my mind, it's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to do this for a little bit, just to show everyone that it's like I'm going to get a little bit better, and then I'll be able to go back and live life how I want. And, you know, so like I didn't go to a treatment center, but at the time, you know, I said my daughter was 6 months old. So I ended up taking parental leave. Yeah. You know, so at least I can get some time off work, clear my head. You know, you know, one of my friends in recovery kind of gave me an outline, and he's like, you know, do you want to go to this, you know, this treatment place? And no. Like, I want my own bed still. Like, I'm doing everything I can to like fight for that. But it, you know, and then, you know, after my parental leave was done, all of a sudden it's just like I'm spinning still. Yeah. Like I'm just like and
now what?
Like, and and so the doctor ends up putting me on you know, short-term disability. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, life started to take a different pattern than I ever imagined. I'm like, part of me was like, I'm like, how did I end up here? Like how did I end up on disability? Like, it's like, this isn't me. Like, I had this image as like, this is what a man is, you know? And it's like, and I worked in the trades at the time, and it's like, you know, I got the house. Like, I had all this, and it's like, but yet, what do I tell my grandparents when they're like, well, why aren't you at work?
Yeah.
When are you going back to work?
Yeah.
Here we are 3 years later. My grandfather still says, when are you going back to work? Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? I am working. Like, I'm not doing that anymore, but I'm working.
Yeah.
And you make money? Like, like, all right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So tell everyone what you do.
So I work for an organization called Carlington Booch. It is a social enterprise, and we do not drink alcohol anymore. We drink kombucha, and we are here to raise awareness about what addiction is, what it looks like, and, you know, give hope to the people that are affected by it. Because really, like, what I thought was, I'm like, it's only those people that are affected by it. And I still had it together. But when we look at it, it's like we're all affected by this. You know, like as a community, it's like kids in high school to the white collar guy, to the blue collar girl, to the, you know, to even if you don't know anyone or don't think you know anyone, it's like just the cost on our economy
Yep.
and our healthcare system. It's like everyone is affected. So we're here to break the stigma on that.
Yeah.
And we brew kombucha and we bring guys and girls in for employment and volunteer opportunities. Yep. And we put on events through our organization Ashes to Rubies, and we have one coming up this Saturday.
Where is it?
This is going to be at 58 Grosvenor Avenue in Ottawa. So Sunnyside Wesleyan Church. It's going to be 7:30 p.m. this Saturday. And Excellent. There's going to be hip hop. Yep. There's going to be spoken word. There's going to be 3 people are going to be sharing stories, 10-minute stories about something that they've overcome. So it's free. Come out, check it out, and just have a good night, a good socially safe distance night.
So, how has your journey been in recovery?
Good.
Yeah.
My journey has been.
We always say here, not every day is a good day in recovery. We're all going to have up and downs. You know, the arrow for recovery just doesn't shoot up; it goes down and up and down and up. But the trajectory is still on a high plane.
Well, and you know what? It's like one of the things that I tell others, and I tell myself too, that it's like, you know, what my sponsor will tell me, it's like, you know, maybe today you're, you know, 80-20 on this, or you know, the next day you're 40-60, and it's like, and it's this progression that it's like I'm working at it, and things are 100 times better than where they were like 3 years ago at this point. Like I was not where I am now. But I think it's natural that it's like that there's difficult days or there's good days, and you know, I got 3 little kids at home now, so sometimes my eyes are twitching a little bit, and I'm like, I feel like I haven't slept. But it's.
Well, you feel like you haven't slept because you haven't slept.
I feel like I haven't slept because I haven't. I thought, you know, you just have the baby phase and then kids just sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot about
How's that working out?
It's.
Yeah. They don't start sleeping till they're like 14.
I know.
Just saying.
Thanks for the encouraging words.
I always remember when my son slept in. The day he slept in.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, we're there.
That happened to me the other day where it's like, and and when they wake up in the morning, you're waking up at like, not always, but sometimes you're waking up at 5:30. Mm-hmm. Why is it volume 10 right when you wake up? Can't we like have that like you know, your iPhone alarm where it kind of like gradually it's loud right away.
Tonight I wanted to talk about spiritual awakening.
Spiritual
because we hear it all the times in recovery. So if I say spiritual awakening to you, what comes to mind?
I would say a change of life, a change of perspective. You know, as if it's like I was, you know, it's like I'm driving west on the 417, and boom, I hit that 416 south exit, and it's like, and I'm going hard down the 416. Yeah. So that's kind of how I see it with my life, that it's like, you know, am I operating in a certain way, but then either due to a moment or due to, you know, a list of events or different moments or actions, that it's like all of a sudden it's like I'm not facing that same direction anymore, but yet I'm facing a new way, and I'm operating and living out of a different energy, a different spirit almost. Yeah. So that's how I would view and define a spiritual awakening.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. Because, you know, in the 12 steps, it said, step 12 says, after having had a spiritual awakening. And so I'm always preaching, and I hate to use the word preaching, but I'm always preaching that, you know, when we hit the step 12 and we're sponsoring people and we're part of the fellowship and we're in community, and as we all know, you know, the 12 steps are circular, they're not linear.
Yep.
And so when we hit step 12 and it says, after having had a spiritual awakening, we go out and help people.
Yep.
So how do we know when we've had a spiritual awakening? Right?
I'm so sorry for that.
That's okay. How do we know when we've had a spiritual awakening? Well, one of the things that I like to talk about, because I have a real simple checklist, and the first thing on the checklist is an increased tendency to let things happen rather than make them happen. So give me an example in your life where you've noticed that you're no longer forcing things to happen, but rather you're letting them happen. Anything off the top of your head?
So the first thing that I think of was there was a moment with one of my coworkers the other day.
Yes.
I'm not going to drop names on anyone,
yeah.
but with one of my coworkers, and it was about having to be at our site at a production space at a certain time because someone was coming. But I had a meeting. He had several meetings. But it was like, whose meetings are more important, like where we have to be at home to do it. Yeah. And, and I was kind of voted or told that it's like that I'm going to be there. Yeah. And it's like, and I think beforehand I would have been like, I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to prove to you how valuable my time is. And it's like, but there was something here that I thought of after that. I'm just like I don't need, it is what I don't. Why do I go? I don't have to fight this. I don't have to prove this. It's like I can make an adjustment in my life right now. It's not as big of a deal. It's not this personal attack that I can think it is. But beforehand, it's like I would have been kicking and screaming and prying at this.
I always think of the Big Book, or that one line where it says, "We cease fighting everything and everyone." Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. We're no longer trying to control the outcomes to suit our needs. Yeah. And then, the big C word, control. Yeah. Right? And so when we're more apt to let things happen and not impose our view, our opinion, our way. Yeah. And go with the flow.
When I have that line underlined, highlighted, dated in my book because and to me I'm like, that is a very easy thing for me. That's I don't know what the right word. It's almost like a signpost. Yeah. That I can tell as I reflect on my day. Yeah. I can tell where I'm at. Was I fighting anyone? Yeah. And I'm like, and if I was, that's a red flag as to what's going on inside of me.
I was talking to someone maybe about a month ago, and we were talking about spiritual awakening, and he said, I was with a group of friends, and we were at a meeting, and after the meeting, we were going to go out for a bite to eat, and nobody could agree on one place. Mm-hmm. We all had different opinions as to where we should go, but he said, I made damn sure that they all went where I wanted to go. And then, as you said, when he got home and reflected on his day, he was like, "Geez, what am I doing?"
Here I came in, bullying and bossing,
It's not very spiritual, right?
Yeah, it's I'm doing my best and learning to sometimes just be quiet. Yeah. Because that's a spiritual gift, just to be quiet.
Yeah, as my sponsor always used to say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Yeah. And we're supposed to listen twice as much as we speak. Number 2 on my list: frequent attacks of smiling. You smile lots?
A lot more than before. Yeah. Like I remember there was a point. Like I would smile and I would laugh before, and I wasn't stone cold before, and it's like there was a moment in sobriety that I just remember laughing, and it was like a deep laugh. Mm. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And
a gut laugh.
Yeah. And I just thought that I'm like, I haven't actually felt like that in a long time, and I noticed myself, like I used to watch movies or, comedies, and it's like, I never laughed. Like, it's like I would find them funny, but I never laughed. And now it's like, I find myself actually like laughing. If I see something funny, I laugh at it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I genuinely laugh at it. Or if I see my kids doing something funny, like I'm actually laughing at it. I'm not just, oh, that's cute. There's something inside of me that, which, before it's like I would smile, but it's like there was nothing deeper than that. So, yeah, I definitely
The
feel
superficial smile.
Yeah,
Right?
I definitely,
Yeah.
100%. I definitely feel that now.
Yeah. The fine. How are you? Fine.
Good.
Good.
Smile.
Yeah.
A little handshake. Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Number 3, feelings of being connected with others and nature, or to you know, I always say being connected to my peers, my community, feeling that I belong.
Well,
You know.
and so I think for me was I would play it off before as, you know, oh, I'm an introvert.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm fine just being by myself. Like, and I'll play it off, and it's like, but yeah, that's where my addiction would take hold. You know, so I'd have this shame of, you know, looking at porn all the time, and that's a secretive thing. And then I have this shame that I'm drinking in the middle of the night by myself. You know, and it's like, but I don't need anyone, and I'm just kind of by myself, and I'm like, perfect. Like that was the thing that, and I would excuse it, you know, like I lived in this lie that it's like it was fine that I was by myself, and it's like, you know, I would be like, oh, you know, let's just move to the middle of nowhere, like what, like,
where I can do what I want when I want.
no one's gonna be there to tell, and it's like, and I would tell myself these lies that I'm like, well, it's because you're introverted, and it's because all these things, and no, it's like I've actually been designed. Yeah, I am introverted, but I am designed to actually engage and interact and live in community with others. So I'd say that's probably one of the more difficult things for me to do. Like, where do I gauge? You know, I want to be alone right now because I'm selfish, or where do I want to be alone because I actually need a recharge? You know, but yeah, it's,
how do you tell the difference?
How do I tell the difference? I think one, it depends on, I think I have to look at the bigger picture instead of like, I can't just look at like, okay, you know, like tonight, this is what it is. Or, you know, say a Saturday morning, like I need to look at the bigger picture as to like, what does my life look like around, like my whole schedule? Like, what is it? What does everything look like? And then what am I doing with that time? You know, if I'm watching a movie, like that's fine. But if I watch a movie Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is it really like, you know, recoup time to watch a movie on Friday? Like, is that it? Or it's like, or are you just like playing that off now?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Makes perfect sense.
So, so I think it's a bigger, I think for me, it's like I have to look at the bigger picture as to like what is, it's not just a one-time thing, but it's like what is...
Yeah, it's never just a one-off.
Like, what is the whole ebb and flow of how my life and routine and schedule is looking like?
Yeah.
So, and I think sometimes I think especially because my wife is extroverted, there's a lot of give and take there, you know? And it's like, man, she needs extrovert time. And it's like, and it means something for her. It means a lot for her to host. It means a lot for her if we get to go out as a family. So it's like, yeah, I might not want to necessarily. That's the selfish side of me. But I'm like, we're doing it though.
Yeah.
Because this is what being a loving husband, a supportive husband, a loving father, like that's what this is about.
How do you know when you're connected?
With
people, with community, with the world, you know? One of the things that we hear all the time, and Clancy Clancy C wrote a book, and he called it Square Peg in a Round Hole, and that, you know, defining how most of us before we come into recovery feel.
Yeah.
And so how do you know when you're connected, when you're doing okay with you know, others around you and feeling at peace? The 3 pieces of the pie: peace with God, peace with ourselves, and peace with others.
I think a big thing is when my mind isn't spinning on things.
Yeah.
So it's like if I can go through a day and then tonight, oh my goodness, like Kevin asked me that question. What is that? What is what is and if I play that out, it's like whoa, it's like, and it's not.
Now, why would he ask that question?
It's not that that's bad, but where do I take that question?
Yeah.
And do I dwell on that? Is that waking me up in the middle of the night? Is it, so there's that part, and then it's like, and then I see it's like, am I in conflict with others?
Yeah.
So maybe you do something to make me angry.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's like, am I now sitting in that resentment, or is there something that I should be like, hey man, that upset me, or I got to deal with my own inventory process on this and figure that out. But I think when I'm dwelling on stuff, and stuff is taking up mental space, I think that's a good indicator that I'm not at peace in an area of my life. So
good, fabulous. Number 4, frequent, overwhelming episodes of appreciation. That's
how we pray in my house. We
prayers of gratitude.
Yeah, like we don't teach. We haven't done like the traditional dinner prayers, with our kids. But like, you ever done it like a Thanksgiving dinner? Everyone has to go around the table, say what they're grateful for.
Yeah,
everything.
Yeah.
I hated that. Like, high school, we're doing that. I like don't talk to
yeah. I get that.
But it's like that's what we do.
Yeah.
Every mealtime, we ask my kids. This is how we pray tonight. What are you grateful for?
Yeah.
Because I know you can tell me 10 things that your sister did to you or your brother or whatever, or I can think of all these negative things around me. But it's like, what am I grateful for? What am I grateful for in recovery? What am I grateful for that God's doing in my life? And when I start doing that it starts to change my mindset of, there's a lot of good happening right now, you know? And even if it doesn't seem that there's a lot of good, that doesn't mean I still can't be grateful for the breath that I have, so.
We're kind of the same way because Lorena and I, we're always at dinner time, we kind of have a gratitude prayer and just looking at the abundancies that God has given us. It's just, if you just sit and relax and take a good look, my goodness, there's so much. And we need to remind ourselves of that every day. I think that's part of that spiritual awakening. Is being able to see, what God has provided for you. Because I didn't do it. I didn't do it. Good golly.
When I look back on the last 3 years and the experiences that I've had and the encounters that I've had can't be explained. And I'm like, so I can take up big things over the last 3 years, but then it's like if I break that down to the little moments in the day, to where it's like there was, I was working with a guy almost a year ago. It was in March, and he passed away. He overdosed. And I was filled with sadness, and I didn't necessarily know how to take it or process it. But I remember I was talking to my sponsor. My sponsor's like, did you ever even just thank God that it's like just for the times that you have with this guy? And it's like, and once I started doing that, it changed my whole perspective on his loss. That it's like, God, thank you so much. Just that you actually entrusted me to be in his life for the 3 months that we were working together before he passed. Thank you that just for, the smiles, the joy that he brought me when I met with him. And it's like, and trusting that it's like sad scenario, but it's like, do I trust that God has this in control? And it's like, maybe that guy received exactly what he needed to receive, at that time. And it kind of, I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole with it, but so I don't know if that seems backwards, but it's like, I'm thinking of this moment of sadness or despair. I think that's part of the awakening. Right. Is being able to
take those moments and really look at the truth behind
Mm-hmm.
them, you know, and that you were lucky to have that time.
Mm-hmm.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah. And I should say, like, I'm not this ultra spiritual, like that. I just knew right then and there, but it's like, you know, someone was there, like, and that's what I love about the fellowship. That's what I love about the community, that it's like, you know, you might be able to speak something to me and it's like, oh wow, like I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
And it's like, so that's what this was, that it's like this little word came into my head from someone else.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I'm not saying that sadness is gone. I'm not saying that, but it's like, but it brought a different perspective, and it brought this moment of gratitude, you know, and that was before. Can I keep talking about this?
Yeah.
So before that was
It's your show.
That was
Go right ahead.
I'm just here drinking kombucha, man. We need a re-up. So that was before his funeral. And then all of a sudden it's like, one of the things I'm grateful for COVID is, like the funeral was down in Southern Ontario, but it's like being able to still be a part of the funeral online.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I guess, you know, after he died, they found his journal, and, you know, the reverend or the pastor started reading entries from his journal. And I'm bawling in his funeral, because it was all stuff that he was experiencing and that we had talked about, and his encounters with God. And I'm like, it was so healing for me to hear that, to be like, it's like our time wasn't in waste. This isn't a failure. It's like, but it's like, man, he was receiving, like God was doing so much work in his life at the end. And it's like, it was another moment of gratitude, that it's like, even like, God, thank you for allowing that little moment of them reading this journal entry, like, and how healing that was for me. Yeah, completely different perspective on what death is.
I liked what you said too about the fellowship, because, you know, for myself, I know that God speaks through others to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so if I'm not a part of that fellowship, then I'm discounting that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay. Number 5, a tendency to think and act spontaneously rather than from fears based on past experiences.
Yeah. Next. No, so my entire life was really fear driven. And when I look back, there were so many things that I didn't do with my life, or that just it could be little things, but it's like I wouldn't do, because it's like I might fail, I might look stupid, I might, you know, whatever. And it's like, so fear was this driving force that actually kept me away from so much stuff. And just really kept me isolated. See, it's like, you know, one of the things, the simple thing. I remember when I was in early recovery. I go with my friend to Jericho Road every Friday for a little class, and, you know, and then one day he asked me, it's like, you know, do you want to teach, or do you want to speak today? Yeah, I'm good. Thanks. I will pass on that. And I, you know, maybe another couple months later or whatever, you know, asks and really encouraging and pushing me there. And it's like, and I said yes to it. Terrified, like honestly terrified, because I'm like, I did not want to speak in front of people. I don't want to, like, I'm going to look so stupid.
Yeah.
Because
what am I going to say?
Yeah. What am I going to say? But it's like, but that feeling wasn't just about this. That took me everywhere. When I was working, you know, on a job site, man, I'm not the best trades guy. Like, it's like, I know so little compared to that guy.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll let him do that job, because it's like, I don't want to look like an idiot. Yeah. But it's like, so I step into that, and now all of a sudden this guy has stepped back, and now I've stepped in, you know, and it's this opportunity that I get to serve every Friday. And it's like, yeah, sometimes there can still be fear there, but it's just like, I don't even remember what the question was anymore.
Yeah, well,
but
you're not acting on your fears, right?
Yeah.
Spontaneously, rather than not acting on your fears from past experiences. Because, one of the things that I know, like when you talk about fear, every person in recovery can relate to fear. And the big book says that fear is the common thread woven through the fabric of our existence, the very fabric of our existence of our lives.
Yeah.
And so we can all relate to fear. And so part of that spiritual awakening is not acting out of that fear and not living in that fear anymore, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't happen overnight,
Yeah, the best way that I've seen that present in my life is I get to look back on the examples of when I stepped into that fear and where that fear didn't control me. But it's like, I addressed it, I gave it to God. Yeah. I get to step into whatever it is that I'm terrified of. And maybe I fall flat on my face and maybe I don't. But you get enough of those events that I get to look back behind me now and being like, oh, wow, that wasn't as scary as my mind made it out, and it's like, so I get to actually live out of that experience. Maybe it could go the opposite way, that it's like, maybe they booed at me,
but then also being able to share those experiences as well, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Number 6, an unmistakable ability to enjoy each moment, living in the now.
Yeah.
One day at a time. How hard is that for you to do?
One of the questions, I forget which question was at the beginning, but it's like, there's an ebb and flow to that for me. I think it's easy to say, one day at a time. Yeah, cool. Done. All right, next question. But it's like, but there is times that I'm like, figured, and for some reason different things might affect me, and it's like, and I can be like, you know what, I don't need to worry about this right now, and the other day it's like, I was having some medical stuff going on, and I was waiting for testing, and I found myself going to Google.
Self-diagnosis.
Oh, the devil itself is in Google, and I'm just like typing away, and it's like, and you could go down next thing you know, you're diagnosed with 2 days to live.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, and
acute thrombosis of
whatever, something. It's like, for some reason, it only affects 1 in every 100 million people, and I'm the guy. But and it's like, but again, I had this image. I said, okay, this is what I'm at. I gotta kind of keep things. I gotta keep this appearance for my wife because I don't want to scare her. I don't want all these things. And it's like, so I opened up to her about the fear. And she's just like, what are you worried about? And I'm like, I didn't expect that answer from her.
Yeah,
but she's like, what are you worried about? She's like, you don't know what it is. And it's like, the doctors refer all this stuff. It's like,
what answer did you want to hear?
I don't know what I wanted. I don't know what I was just trying to put the one foot in front of the next. I had no idea. But it's like, but I recognize that just like her ease of spirit and just like, she really encouraged me with that 1 day at a time right there, that it's like, I lost track. There's moments that it's like, I can have it in check and she doesn't, but it's like that day she's like, what are you worried about? Let's just wait until that happens. And then when that happens, whatever the answer is, we deal with that. But it's like, and then there's other moments that I'm just like, I don't need to, for other listeners, I'm like, I don't need to worry about that because I'm like, I can see how God has actually guided me throughout my whole life and throughout even the last 3 years. And I'm like, do I trust that God is everything right now, or is God nothing? And I'm like, man, sometimes that can be terrifying to say that. Easy to say that. Terrifying to actually believe that and live that out. But when I put myself into that position of living it out, that's where I actually get to see the miracles of God at play, because Josh isn't running the show about trying to control everything and make it all happen.
And that's it, the big control, right? Because I always remember my sponsor saying that to me, how to practice living one day at a time.
Yeah.
And he always used to say, the past is over and done with. You can't change it. It's done. Nothing you do is going to change the past. And you have no control over tomorrow. That's in God's hands. Nothing you do today is going to change tomorrow. And if you think something that you do today has the ability to change tomorrow, then you're playing God. And so all you have is today. That's it. That's all. Today. And it took me a long time to come to that point of acceptance about today. Today only. That's it. That's all. Everything else is a wash.
Yeah, and it makes me really, when I'm able to live out of that spot, that place, and even just acknowledging being in that place, all of a sudden life takes on new meaning, because now I'm able to be present in this moment.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
And man, where do I see it the most right now?
Yeah.
Like when I'm focused on just today, man, I got to be present and just play with my kids.
Yeah.
You know, or am I being like, got to check whatever it is here, and it's like, man, like that's a trap.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, can I be present with just today, and what happens? Because I'm like, I have no idea what tomorrow brings, or you know, and so yeah.
Good. Okay. A loss of the ability to worry.
Yeah, I think that's kind of tied in with some of the stuff I've already shared, but some days, done, easy, gone. God, take it away, done, boom. Like it's like not even stressed. Biggest thing for us.
You know what my sponsor used to say? Worry is the interest paid on things that never happen.
Yeah.
I love that line because when I grew up, my nickname was my mom used to say I was a worry wart. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. At 5, 7 years old, she used to
she
call
could
me
already see it. Hey, already
the
see
worry
it.
wart. And so, you know, how much time, energy, and effort I placed on worrying about things that haven't happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
You know, so when you think about that, the interest we pay on things that never happen. And what's the interest we pay? Not being present.
That's that whole anxiety piece that you play. I'm not saying you. I play it off as this massive, this worry about something, and it's like, what am I worrying about? Like really, when I break it down and simplify it, and I know it's easy. Again, it's easy to say that, but that's where there's been moments for myself that, like, how do you get yourself out of that?
Yeah,
you know, because it's like I think even in having, you know, going through the steps and having a spiritual awakening or an experience, it's like that can still creep back in.
Oh yeah,
that piece of worry doesn't it's like, because I think that there's that little thing that's going to try and pull you back, and it pulls you back in subtle ways. And for me, it could be anxiety or worry.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I remember there was one time that I would wake up in the middle of the night, you know, and I would just think of something. Yeah. And it's like, and that, you know, I'd be worried about, I can't think of an example, but I'd be worried about it. So I just had, say like a big prayer, and it's like, and all I would do is I would just focus on praying one line of that prayer. Yeah. Over and over. And to me, I'm like, the same way that worry is trying to put its like fish hooks into my mind and like take me out. It's like, I got to equally combat that. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it's like, God, this is what I'm doing right now. Take this away. And I repeat that line, and that has done miracles.
Tool in the toolbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. A loss of interest in conflict. Well, back to the first one, right?
Yeah.
We cease fighting everything and everyone. We just stop arguing.
think we should get my wife on the phone and see if she would agree with all of this.
This next one's huge for me. I love this. A loss of interest in interpreting the actions of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why do you do that? Why do you say that? Is that directed at me?
It's about this thing. I think you mentioned it already, but it's like the energy that we spend, and it's like I can't spend that, like
it's exhausting.
But like Kevin, like I got my wife, I got 3 kids. I can't be analyzed. Like I'm like I don't got time for that right now. There's other needs in my life that need my attention, and not what did he mean when he said that?
Yeah.
Why did he you know, and again, this is like, it's easy to just say this stuff. But I think when I go through this process of recovery and working the 12 steps, and I begin to be, and I have this willingness to put into that, and I'm turning these things over to God, and I'm being open and honest with others around me. It's not just this, like, it's just like, I never want to just say like, oh yeah, just stop it. It's like, I can't stop it.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, so I got to put in the work, but it's like when I put in the work, I get to see God at work.
Yeah. Boots to the floor.
Boots to the floor.
Boots to the floor.
Every day, all day.
Every day, all day. Yeah. This is a big one. A loss of interest in judging others, judging yourself.
Yeah. Some days there's moments. There's moments that it's like, ego creeps back in. Yeah. And like I'm talking myself out of a spiritual awakening sometimes with what I'm saying here. But it's like there's moments that it's like, you know, like
don't you know who I am? No, but seriously.
That's what it is. Yeah, like it's like what do you mean he said that or acted that way? Or like why would he do that? But or
do you know why he did that? I know why he did that.
I'm ballooning up right now. It's like, but then there's moments that, and I remember feeling this specifically, when I was going through some of my inventories in the steps, and I remember there was one person that there was a big resentment towards. I'm like, I did not like this person, and all of a sudden, I looked out the window and it's a sunny day, and I'm writing this stuff down, and all of a sudden I just had compassion for this person. Because I would live by judging this person and criticizing every single thing this person would do, because you know, and I belittle them, maybe out loud, maybe in my mind, but it's like, but there was this moment.
Well, usually what's in our mind ends up coming out. Right?
Eventually, something's coming out.
Yeah.
And but I remember I had this moment of compassion that I'm just like, where it's like I don't know what it was. I think one of my kids ran into the room or something. And I just had a picture of this person running into the room as a kid. And I'm just like, man, I'm like, I wouldn't want someone to be judging my kid that way or criticizing them or doing all that. So I'm like, but here I am, Mr. Big Shot over
Passing
here.
It out.
Mr. Big Shot on disability.
So the next one is kind of in the same, you know, not judging yourself. Who's your worst critic?
I've always been my worst. Yeah. I'm the guy looking in the mirror every day.
Get in line.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's and I think that takes away, because in addiction, I lived under this weight of like the guilt and shame.
Yeah.
You know, and the big thing, guilt, because I was doing bad stuff. I had done wrong.
Yeah.
That guilt should be there, because I wasn't living well. But the shame was just that lie in my head that was saying, it's like that you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You're not good enough. You're not good enough. And I think that there was a moment for me where I had, you know, this spiritual experience. I know we're talking about this awakening, but there was one specific moment that I know I had this spiritual experience that it's like I had actually felt the love of God come over me. And I felt, it's almost as if I felt all this stuff leaving me, and I felt something coming over me. And someone else was with me at that moment. And there was just this sense that I'm like, this person is fighting for me right now. Like that's the feeling that I had, that this person is contending for me, fighting for me. And I'm like, if that's what this person is doing, how much does God fight for me and is wanting to see me lifted up? But yet I've lived in this thing saying it's like that you're no good. And yet it's like God's lifting me up, saying it's like, you're good enough. You're good enough. And yeah, you have good days and you have bad days, but it's like, you're still my son. And that's one of the things that it's like, I say that to my kids now, like where, I'll tell them that it's like, that you're that you're daddy's son, right? Or that you're daddy's daughter. And I'll follow up with like, what does that mean? I say this all the time to them. And then like, I don't know. I'm like, how do you not know? I tell you this all the time.
Yeah.
No. But but I don't know, I'm just like, it means that I love you no matter what.
Yeah.
When you're having a temper tantrum, when you're having your best day, I'm like, I'm always here and I'm always going to love you no matter where you're at.
Yeah.
And it's like, and if that's what I'm saying as my imperfect person self, is the same feeling that I had at that moment where I felt the love of God, that it's like that God loves me no matter what. And that just took this weight off of like, I don't need to be judging myself right now. I don't need to be I don't need to live under this lie of like that you're no good. Yeah, you have good days, you have bad days, but it's like that doesn't have to define you.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
Last but not least, gaining the ability to love without expecting anything in return.
Yeah, I think
I got a good example of that. 'Cause
let's hear your example
I
first.
use it all the time. I never give money to anybody anymore without not expecting it back. So if you come up to me and say, "Can you lend me $20 on the gas for my car?" I'm going to give you the $20.
Yeah.
I don't expect it back.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I don't want it back. Because if I place in my head that expectation that you have to pay me back $20, it's going to rumble in my head forever.
Yeah.
And every time I see you and you don't pay me back,
Where's my 20, bro?
yeah, it's going to cause friction and the squirrels will start running.
Yep.
And resentment, because an expectation is a resentment just waiting in the wings.
Yep.
And so I've come to that point in my recovery where whatever I do or give, I don't ever expect anything in return. End of story. It's so freeing.
And I think a big thing for me. Okay, so I can talk about the family side of that. I've already touched on points of that, but I think that is definitely there when I think of even working with others. That I'm just like, sometimes I gotta caution myself that it's like, well, what if this person isn't responding the way I want, or they're not doing that, or they're not heeding this advice, or what if they're not working with someone like, and it's like, no, that's not what I'm called to. I'm called to serve and to give, and not have. It's like, this isn't a transaction here. I'm not in a transaction that I'm doing this for you and you're going to give back this to me. Not financially, but just like, like that. But it's like, can I give my time freely without the expectation of you're going to say a certain thing or you're going to behave a certain, like you're going to do those things. And when I enter into that, I can actually come to a place of
what? Of
I was going to say of genuine service.
Yes.
That it's like, I'm actually here because it's like, because I know the gifts that I've received, and it's like, I just want to pass that off here.
Yeah.
And it's like, and when I remove that, it's like, now I'm actually able to love you in a much more pure way, because it's like, no one's ever going to do the right thing or say that, like,
it's altruistic.
yes,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And that's why I think that last one, without expectations, because that's, as we said at the beginning, after having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these 12 steps, we go and help others, right? And I always think of the 12-step fellowship, because we have to give what was so freely given to us.
The amount of hours that people have spent with me Why? Wow.
You know?
The headaches I must have
Yeah.
put people through. And it's like,
I always think of that, when I get asked to do something, and so a lot of the times my first reaction is always to say no, right? I mean, that just makes me normal, but
Yep.
I always say yes because I remember the time and the effort that my sponsor threw into me.
Yep.
I mean, my goodness.
yeah. Absolutely.
The weekly meetings, the daily telephone calls, the whining and complaining of you want me to do what?
I know. Like, and part of me thinks too sometimes that I'm just like, and like people didn't give up on me,
Yeah.
and it's like there was always that little encouragement. There was always that little person behind you giving you a little pat on the bum, get up, we're gonna keep going. And it's just like, and the expectation wasn't for me to do whatever for them. It's like, but they're passing something freely to me because they've had this experience, and now I get to do that for others. And when I start to, if and again, it's another good, the same way I said, it's like I get to look at if I'm in conflict or if I'm fighting people, that's a good indicator that something's not right. Yeah. The same thing, if I start being resentful because it's like, well, man, I shoveled my grandparents' roof today. Like, come on, man. Like I would have done it for free.
Yeah.
My grandfather's of the thing. He always has to slide you a little bit of money. But
Money.
like that's what you're gonna give me?
Yeah.
Like I'm not.
Yeah. Do you know how long I was here?
Do you know the backbreaking?
Do you know how cold
work?
it is?
Yeah, it was minus 30 today. Like, but it's like when I get to go there, and it's like, and I go there, I'm like, I'm not expecting anything, but it's like, man, you know what? I just get to go. I know this is outside of the addiction circle, but it's like I get to go there, really just out of a living amends.
Yeah. Yes.
I get to go there and be of service. I get to go there because you know what?
I heard a speaker once say, you gotta start replacing have to with get to.
Have to and get to. Oh yeah.
Right? Because I always used to whine. I got to drive my son out to Emblem for tennis. It's an hour and 45 minutes away there and back.
Yeah.
3 hours. I have to go and drive him.
Yeah.
And I always remember my sponsor saying, no, Kev, you get to.
When everything starts to become have-tos.
Yeah. You get to spend time with your son.
Yeah.
You know how many people would kill to be in your position?
Yeah.
You got 3 hours of quality time in the car where you can talk about anything.
Yeah. No distractions, no nothing. Cell phones in the trunk.
Lord, I hate when he's right.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go to questions.
All right.
Okay, but first I want to do a few announcements. You can type in your questions to John. He's waiting for you. For Josh and I, don't forget our coldest night of the year walk is February 26, 2022.
Get your team ready.
Get your team ready. It should be assembled there now. If you want to be a team captain, you can give us a shout at Jericho Road. We'll walk you through the whole step. Go to the website. It's up and running. Get your teams registered. Visit cnoy.org/Ottawa Lowertown. Our next episode of Recovery Connection is February what? February 26th? No, sorry, February 10th, where we have a special episode where we're chatting with all the other coldest night of the year leads in Ottawa. So there's 4 walks, John, 4 walks going on, 5 walks going on, 4 walks, 5 walks. And so everybody that's leading a walk is going to get together here on the podcast and talk about coldest night of the year and why it's important. And we're just going to talk about some of the great work that these organizations are doing in the city, because we can't do this alone, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And this episode that you're listening to now will be available on most major streaming platforms next Thursday. John gets to edit out all the hums, haws, and me going, yeah. And then remember to follow, like, and share us on your social accounts, please. We get some traction. People need to know what we're talking about. Okay, question period. No questions. Wow. Woo! Off the hook.
The blessings are upon us.
The blessings are upon us. Part of that spiritual awakening. Cool. Well, thank you, buddy.
Thank you, man.
Thanks for coming
This was a joy and an honor.
Thanks for talking. Yeah, keep up the good work. Everybody drink some Booch.
Carlington
Booch for that.
Yeah.
Good gut feeling.
Good gut feeling.
Good gut feeling.
Booch in the gap.
Jeez, wait till I talk to your boss and tell you couldn't remember the tagline.
I thought you were running with it. Don't throw me under the bus. He's probably watching live right now.
Oh my goodness, I love you. God bless you, buddy.
Hey, thank you,
Thanks
man.
for coming.
Thanks
We'll
for
see you
having me.
soon. Bye, everybody.
See you guys.
Take care. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to everybody soon.